Professor, thank you for accompanying us today for this TV interview featured in The World's Greatest Scientists.
We would love to get to know more about you. First, can you tell us what your name is?
My name is Professor Anders Celsius.
Nice to meet you, Professor Celsius. What do you teach?
I am a professor of astronomy.
Wow, that is great to hear. But how did you get to that point? Can you tell us about your childhood and early life?
Surely. I was born November 27th, 1701 in Uppsala, Sweden, where I was raised a Lutheran by my parents. My father, Niels Celsius, was an astronomy professor as well, which is where I gained some influence. I completed my early education in my hometown, where I showed extraordinary talent in mathematics. I studied at Uppsala University, where I joined as a professor of astronomy in 1730. That is how I got to that point.
Wow, sounds like you are very intelligent. Now, what did you do with all those smarts?
Well, though I was based in astronomy, I was also a physicist and a mathematician. I traveled throughout Germany, Italy, and France, where I visited notable observatories. In 1741, I founded the Uppsala Astronomical University.
That is all so great, but we know you would not be here today for simply establishing an observatory. What are you most famous for, Professor Celsius?
I never thought you would ask. In 1742, I proposed the Celsius temperature scale that the world uses to this day. I first began observations on the intensity of starlight using colored glass plates to record the magnitude of certain stars. This contributed to my astronomy accomplishments, but more importantly, I was the very first person to perform and publish experiments aiming at the definition of an international temperature scale. In my experiments, I found that the freezing point is independent of latitude and boiling water is dependent on the atmospheric pressure. I discovered and created a thermometer that was calibrated at 100 degrees for boiling point and 0 degrees for freezing point of water.
So basically, you gave us all the system of temperature measurement that we use today and the constants.
You're right. I always said a thermometer is somewhat more sensitive when put into boiling water and would be easier to bring along when traveling at sea or land, especially on high mountains.
Yeah, that makes it way easier instead of taking along all the instruments you first used. Now all you need is a thermometer.
Are there any other things that we should know about you?
Well, I published a collection of the Aurora Borealis and findings on how to measure the shape of the Earth.
What else did you do outside of astronomy?
Well, I was named secretary of the Uppsala Scientific Society, and I wrote a book called Arithmetics for the Swedish Youth.
Now, I'm sad to ask this. How and when did you pass away?
Pass away? I'm surely alive. You're just kidding. I died way back in 1744 of tuberculosis.
I'm so sad to hear that. We surely would not be the world we are today without you. And I'm so sorry some other dumb scientist came up with that Fahrenheit because it's weird and confusing and you definitely made more sense.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.